And welcome to the SFL's Game Day wrap-up for week number 8. After Mike was a little bit under the weather from Saturday, he is back with us in full health, at full strength, and ready to break down this entire week 8 slate. And Mike, we start in San Diego. Game of the year between Denver and San Diego. It had it all, and I'm not even going to steal anything from you. Just set the stage for the fans.
Yeah, what a great game to end week 8, Cam. Denver goes into San Diego, one loss on the season. San Diego, of course, no wins. Jared McChesney gets injured on the very first possession of the game. He's out the entire first half. San Diego were able to build a lead, a small lead, but they were able to build a lead. But then as this game turned, Cam, in Denver's favor, McChesney came back what my notes say here, I think at like the 6-minute mark of the third quarter. And then all of a sudden, Denver gets back in this game. McChesney with a huge 47-yard touchdown run, and then also scored on a touchdown pass. And all of a sudden, Denver's back in control, or back in the lead, not necessarily in control. And San Diego played one of their most solid games of the season. Devin King, linebacker, played out of his mind. 16 solo tackles, assisted on 3 others. Vasquez had a great performance today, but man, back and forth. San Diego sends it to overtime, and then an incredible finish in overtime with a block interception, couple of back-to-back sacks, block punts. The game had it all.
Rosca Santagria with the block for Denver, and then Kramer wins it. Special teams again helps propel Denver to a victory, but at least San Diego can say, all right, if we can take Denver to overtime, I know McChesney was out, but if we can take Denver to overtime, we can compete with anybody. We're 0-8, not going to make the playoffs, but at least we can try to go play spoiler for a lot of teams down the stretch. And they looked great today. I mean, McChesney or no McChesney, San Diego looked really good. They found an identity. They did not abandon the run to Jalen Wells. They played a very short passing game, but not like how teams usually play short passing games. They got their fullback involved in a bunch of different types of route combos. They used their 2 tight ends on crossing patterns. They really mixed up the game in a way that finally made San Diego look like, okay, now we know who this team is, and that's a big positive for them going forward.
Yeah, they definitely had an identity on offense tonight. Optimus Klein, we finally had a sighting of him tonight. Had a couple of big catches. McMichael had a catch. But yeah, Vasquez, as you mentioned, he mixed it up well, and the offense looked efficient. I mean, they were moving the ball, and it did help them come back and at least get in field goal range for the game-time field goal by Cappuccino late in this game. So yeah, they definitely brought an identity to the game tonight, and that helped them out a whole lot.
I still can't believe what we just witnessed. Shea Carroll had one play where he blocked 3 different people at the same time. It was you got to go and watch that game. If you didn't watch any SFL game in full this week, watch San Diego, Denver. It was an instant classic. From a near upset to an actual one, Carolina beats Baltimore in Baltimore. Baltimore in the regular season was 32-2. Mike, at home. Their only 2 losses ever to Tallahassee, who's now Jacksonville, and Sioux Falls. That's it. Carolina comes in, and this game was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it just felt like at any given moment, Carolina was not going to have enough. Not going to have enough juice. And it just never happened. Clutch throws to Sam Avalis, to Heath McDaniel Jr., Prasad was a little quiet, but Tony Zoma had some amazing catches. Xander Gold was terrific. I mean, this ain't your grandma's Carolina Skyhawks. That was a heck of a victory.
Yeah, excellent game from Xander Gold yesterday. As you mentioned, Tony Zoma, Heath McDaniel Jr., Sam Avalis, some unsung heroes, that typically don't get mentioned when it comes to Carolina, but they had big pick-me-up games for Carolina, kept these guys, being an offensive threat for a majority of the game. and it seemed like every time Baltimore would answer a Carolina play, these guys would step up and make a play that would be better than what Baltimore just made. So, but yeah, a huge game from down to goal, 321 yards, 4 touchdowns. Carolina just had an answer for everything that Baltimore threw at them yesterday.
This is Carolina's remaining schedule. They're now 4-4. 3 of their last 4 are at home. They host Portland. Then they host Jacksonville, a divisional game they have not met this year. Then they go to L.A. in a game that will be Rochelle welcoming back her former team. There's a few other former Skyhawks on that L.A. team. And then Carolina hosts Charleston, a team they've already beaten this year, and trying to get the sweep. This could be the year that Carolina returns back to the playoffs. It's not the easiest slate by any means, but it's set up for a photo finish there for the Skyhawks.
Yeah, my first thought was, it's not going to be easy for them, but they are definitely more than capable of competing in each and every one of those games. Carolina's definitely won't be taken lightly by anybody on that schedule. But yeah, if they get in, they're definitely going to have to earn it, and they'll definitely be worth looking out for in the playoffs if they can complete this gauntlet of a schedule that they have coming down the stretch.
Incredible 34-27 victory over Baltimore. What a huge win. And the Vultures lose their second in a row. We probably should have done the research before the show, but I can't remember the last time that Baltimore, if they ever have lost 2 games in a row. The defending champs slipping, but fortunately for them, their division not looking too good. So I think they're going to be okay. Another crazy game. This started the week, Mike. Los Angeles, we're watching this game, and it looked like an epic collapse was happening right in front of us. I mean, Los Angeles was committing penalties, blowing coverages. I mean, it was a mess, and this game was so defensive for the whole game. And at one point, L.A. intercepted Bryant Dynasty on 4 straight possessions. L.A. is up 19-13. Dynasty gets a touchdown, in the final stage of the game to take the lead, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, this game was a crazy game to watch. If Sully Richardson wasn't getting sacked, Bryant Dynasty was throwing an interception. It was just wild there for a second. Like, what team could finally put something together enough to seal a victory? And as you mentioned, Dynasty on the next to last drive of the game, he comes through with a big touchdown pass to Boo Chisholm and to put him ahead. And then just when you didn't think LA, had an answer, Sully goes on a huge drive, hits a couple of big passes, gets in Rob M's field goal range, and he nails the one for the game winner.
Yeah, I think what was most impressive about this game, Mike, is that Jack Flash was really quiet. They had a really very inefficient day out of Davius Reed and Elsie Pryor. They had a bunch of targets, but not a lot of receptions. Of course, Richardson wasn't much better than Dynasty in the efficiency category. But through it all, through the ugliness of this, and it was ugly. It was just a game where you just threw your hands up and just looked to the heavens and said, could you please give us some clean football here? They found a way to win. That's what was most impressive. Usually, young teams like this with new ownership and all that, it takes some time to get those wins in those clutch moments. But that was a big win for LA. I was just most impressed by that. Their resolve. I mean, they had a meltdown in the final 2 minutes. They could have lied down and played dead, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, one thing we would be remiss, Cam, if we didn't mention for this game, Rochelle Colston had 3 interceptions in this game, and it was her birthday yesterday. So I just noted that saw that in my notes that we definitely want to give her credit for that. This LA defense has been solid all season long, whether it's Rochelle or Ryan Yosef. These guys have performed. Buddy Blaze leads the league in tackles and tackles for loss. Solid defense from LA. Gave Bryant Dynasty fits all day and got them out of their comfort zone. of being efficient and not turning the ball over. And obviously they turned them over a lot, and it definitely led them to the victory.
She probably had the best play of the week too, with that falling
Yeah, that nice
backwards
one-hander.
one-handed
Yeah.
interception. Yeah, that was terrific. LA improves to 5-3. We would be remiss if we did not talk about Las Vegas. We have not talked a lot about Las Vegas on this show this year, but they've won 2 in a row now, and they went to Fort Worth and they took out the Toros. And it wasn't close. 31-20.
No.
They had a total handle on it in the second half. Doug Britton gets another kick return. John Blades, how exciting is he to watch play football? He was terrific. And this Vegas team is now 4-4. They're probably not going to win the division because they're trailing Denver, and it's not looking good with Denver pulling out that win. But Vegas is squarely in the mix right now after that big upset win.
Yeah, a big couple of wins the past 2 weeks for Vegas. When you look at the Fort Worth coming in with this defense, the high-powered defense that it's only given up 20 points, in any game this year. That's the most they've given up, but not this week. 31 points from Las Vegas, and then guess what? Their defense turned things around the other way and said, "Hey, we have a great defense over here also." And they held Fort Worth scoreless in the second half, which really sprung them to this victory. Doug Britton did have a big kick return to start the second half, and also Scott Johnson. He's been incredible the past 2 weeks, 132 yards, touchdown, another big 70-plus yard touchdown run yesterday. Yeah, Vegas were impressive on both sides of the ball.
And their last 4 games, it is kind of a fascinating schedule. They host Arizona, who's up and down, right? They're 4-4, but Arizona just beat the living dog out of them in their first meeting. That was brutal. So we'll see, if Vegas has improved or if Arizona just has their number. Then Vegas plays Sioux Falls, they're slumping. Then they play St. Louis, they're slumping. And then they're at Denver, and that's a huge rivalry game. And you can never count them out. They always play Denver tough, whether they win or lose. So again, kind of like Carolina, not the easiest way to end the season when you got 3 teams at 500 or above left on the schedule, but they're right in the thick.
Yeah, not the easiest route, but I think just looking at that, their route may be a little bit, better than Carolina's. Like I said, Arizona up and down. Sioux Falls definitely having a down year this year. And St. Louis have been struggling scoring the ball. That should be a tough, hard-fought, low-scoring game. So, yeah, I think Vegas right there in the thick of things.
All right, Mike and I are going to play a game of opportunistic versus who missed a chance this week. We saw a lot of football's a game of inches. But the SFL is just something totally different. I mean, you get one different bounce of the ball in this game, one different bounce of the ball in that game, and all of a sudden your fortunes have radically changed. So, Mike, we start with you. Who was opportunistic here in Week 8 in the SFL? Who took the most advantage of their opportunity?
I'm going to go with Tulsa. I mean, mainly because of the way this division is tightening up. St. Louis lost. Atlanta lost. Tulsa goes into this game with Vegas this weekend. Both teams one game below 500, and getting to 500 was going to be huge for either one of these teams. Tulsa, that game was back and forth, nip and tuck. Tulsa jumped out early. London, did come back late, but it wasn't a great game, wasn't a pretty game, but Tulsa definitely took advantage and won, and they come out as the most opportunistic team this week because they only found themselves one game out of the division lead.
And their destiny's in their hands. They've got 3 of their last 4 games on the schedule is in the division, 2 against the division leader, St. Louis. I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but it's Tulsa's division to win, it almost feels like at this point, because they do have 3 division games left.
Yeah, this is going to be huge for Tulsa. 2 big games against St. Louis. If they can keep it rough and tumble and low scoring, as they seem to like to do, JQ not turning the ball over, the division is definitely theirs, to win if they can pull these few wins off.
All right, my opportunistic team. Let's see. Lots of different ways to go with this. I'm gonna go Jacksonville because I think that they took advantage of a Queen City team that may be a little bit worse than their record indicates, just a bit. Queen City did not have a good game, and Jacksonville had their number. They've beaten them in a couple of blowouts the last 2 times these teams have met. And they're opportunistic because they got Charleston off their back with a loss, and they kept Carolina off their back. And because those 2 teams haven't played yet, I think that was a critical win for Jacksonville. They also keep pace with Florida. They could have potentially been tied with Florida if Florida would have slipped up today against D.C. But I think Jacksonville was very opportunistic in a very difficult division to essentially take advantage of a team that they should beat, put it in their rearview mirror, and make sure that they didn't suffer an upset like a Fort Worth or a Baltimore did this week. I mean, it's not like there were top teams in the league that, it's not like all of them won, right? And Jacksonville was very opportunistic in taking care of that and putting it to bed.
Yeah, I agree. It was a big win for Jacksonville this week. The offense was extremely efficient. Succo Lamano on defense set the tone early with 4 interceptions in like the first quarter and a half. I mean, amazing game from Succo Lamano this week. But Christian Christensen had a big game. Jared Willis did get involved a little bit on the ground, which definitely helped open up passing lanes for Jacksonville. And as a result, Jared Willis had a touchdown. Grayson Willis had a touchdown catch. I believe Jack Wall had a touchdown catch. So, the ball was spread around, and Jacksonville looked very efficient and good on offense, really for the first time in weeks.
All right, Mike, who missed a chance this week?
Oh, wow. Who missed a chance? I'm going to go back to this London game. London missed an opportunity this week. Like I said, both teams came in under 500. London with a chance to get back to 500 and be a part of this playoff conversation coming down the stretch. But right now, especially with Baltimore losing a couple of games in a row, they were going to be right there in the hunt. And now, the guys are still 2 games behind and might be on the outside looking in right now.
Yeah, they would have been a game out of the division, technically 2, because they've lost to Baltimore and they don't play them again. So this division is basically over unless Queen City beats Baltimore next week. If Queen City pulls the upset there, then it's just Queen City's 1 game back of Baltimore. Baltimore's lost 3 in a row, and Queen City and Baltimore split. So there's no big tiebreaker there. But if Baltimore wins that game against Queen City next week, that division is over. Baltimore's going to the playoffs. London basically secured that they're not going to win the division with this loss. That's what happened this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough hole to come out of. And like you said, even if Queen City beats Baltimore, that's more of an advantage for Queen City as opposed to if London would win next week. It's still a more benefit for Queen City. So, London truly missed an opportunity this week.
My missed a chance is Arizona, not just because they came out and were flat against Louisiana and just didn't play a good game, but because if they would have won and Denver would have lost, which was totally plausible tonight after the way that San Diego played, they would have been 1 game back. All of a sudden, they would have been 5-3. Denver would have been 6-2, and Arizona would have had a shot. Now they're 4-4. Denver's 7-1, and Arizona's already lost to Denver. This division's about over, right? Vegas has the better opportunity to win the division, if anybody does in that division besides Denver, than Arizona does because Vegas still plays Denver in Week 12. So it just Arizona blew it. They just blew it. They blew that opportunity, and Denver ended up winning. So it wouldn't have been like, the most amazing week for Arizona, but they would have felt a whole lot better going into week 9.
Yeah, tough loss for Arizona. It seems like every time, at least in my mind personally, that it seems like, okay, Arizona's looking good. They're ready to finally take that next step. And then they'll have a game like this. Another game I can point to earlier in the season was the London game. Who would have thought Arizona would have given up 41 points to London? It was right when we was saying, okay, it's a big game for Arizona, a home game. They should take advantage of it. But they didn't show up in that game. Well, they made it competitive, but it was just totally surprised to see them give up 41 to London in that game. And tonight they were actually never in it. I mean, before you know it, they were down 31 to 3, and Louisiana really never looked back.
And it almost seems ridiculous what they allowed London to do in that game, because London scored 1 touchdown in the last 7 quarters.
Right.
Just a crazy flip of the script there. Wow, what a week 8. It has been a whirlwind. Game balls, Mike, we've got 2 each for this week. It's always tough in a weekly wrap up to give just 2, but you have the floor, sir. Don't take it away from me.
I love going on the defensive side of the ball, especially when the plays were made truly made a difference in the game. I got to go with A.J. Barnes with Houston today with, in the game against Portland. Portland had gone ahead late in the fourth quarter and had the ball in hand, trying to, put together a drive to end the game. But A.J. Barnes actually came up with a big interception, returned it inside the 10-yard line. Houston scores, goes ahead, and then on the very next possession, he actually had an interception to kill the game off. So A.J. Barnes is going to get my first game ball.
I'm going to give a co-game ball just because it happened in the same game and the 2 players came in contact a number of times. I'm going to give a co-game ball to Devin King and Jared McChesney. I give it to Devin King because he was the only one that could tackle McChesney on San Diego. He was the only one that could make a play. At one time, 3 of his teammates missed a tackle, and he had to come from behind the play to save a touchdown. Devin King was amazing. 19 total tackles, 16 solo. He was stopping passes in the flat. He was stopping passes over the middle. He was stopping McChesney in the backfield. He was everywhere. And then to McChesney, who was hurt, comes back in the third quarter, gets the touchdown score. And I said to you, Mike, right after that touchdown, I said, he just cemented his MVP vote for me, in my opinion, because Denver looked totally lost without McChesney against the only winless team in the SFL. They looked totally lost. And McChesney came in, scored both of their touchdowns. They end up winning the game. And he's got to be the MVP. If that is not the definition of what the most valuable player to a team is, I don't know what is.
Yeah, Cam, you just stole the words right out of my mouth. I mean, that's what the MVP is, the most valuable player. If they're not there, how would your team be? Could your team, still perform the way that they normally do when you're there? And we saw the tale of 2 halves and how Denver plays with and without Jared McChesney. Once he came back in this game midway through the third, it wasn't lights out, but it definitely made a difference, and he made the plays to give Denver this victory tonight.
All right, your next game ball.
Oh, my next game ball is going to be Scott Johnson. I've just been impressed with him over the past 2 weeks. Scott had another big game this week against Fort Worth, and a lot of things that he did gave Las Vegas the victory this weekend with 132 yards, huge touchdown run. Scott Johnson gets my second game ball.
I'm going to go Matt Wilson, 36 for 45, 296 yards. He did have 4 picks, but he also had 4 touchdowns, and more importantly, he had 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers. Nicholas Daggs, Fox Highwind, Jason Bartley, and Mike Daggs. I'm sorry, K.L. Barrett had the third touchdown. Phoenix Jones got a touchdown on the ground. Cole Varner kicked a field goal. Mexico City is my number 1 team in the power rankings. Sorry to jinx you, since I said that about Baltimore earlier this season, and that didn't work out too well. But Matt Wilson, you said it earlier this week. He played like a Hall of Famer, and I thought that was a very impressive performance all around for Mexico City. and that shellacking to St. Louis 38-3. But the way that he spread the ball around, 9 receptions for Jones, 8 for Highwind, 6 for Bentley, 6 for Barrett. And then Bartley had 3, Daggs had 2, Mike did. Nicholas Daggs had 2. If you're counting at home, that is 7 different receivers who caught 36 passes. I think that's pretty impressive, and Matt Wilson gets the game ball from me.
Oh yeah, excellent game ball, Cam, and you're 100% correct this week. Mexico City, they have to be number 1 in the power rankings. Just total balanced team on offense and defense. As you mentioned, all the weapons on offense, and then not to even mention the defense. Dan Tritz with several sacks this week, leading the league in sacks if I'm not mistaken as a rookie. Daggs with the interceptions on the backside. KT Harrell with big plays on this defense. Mexico City are clearly the best team in the league right now.
An honorable mention to Sucker Lamano. He doesn't get a game ball, but he gets an honorable mention because he did have 4 picks, and he does now lead the league in interceptions. So I got to throw that out there. But I can't believe you didn't homer. But good on you, Mike. Good on you for not being a homer. But I will give Jacksonville some more love since you didn't on Lamano.
Well, I was going to give myself an honorable mention game ball, but
God.
That's
not being a homer. That's called being a bad analyst, Mike. Why? Read me your stat line. You don't even have it in your notes. That's.
I have 2 catches.
Oh.
But I equal my receiving total for last season, so that's.
Hey, I can't talk. I have zeros across the board for my career, so I don't know what I'm talking about. What a great week 8. Week 9 is around the corner. Starts next weekend. It's going to be so much fun. Mike, you will be gone for the next 2 weeks. We will have some guest hosts that will be doing some wrap-ups with me. But we'll see you by the time you get back. We will have announced our convention spot. We will have had our 1500th game. We will probably have some teams clinched and eliminated from playoffs, and you'll be fired up and ready to go. So we look forward to having you back again.
Hey, I'm gonna miss you guys for the next couple of weeks, but hey, hold it down for me, and we look forward to getting back to it in a couple of weeks.
We will cook that good food, man. All right, for Mike St. Green, I'm Cameron Irvine. This has been the SFL Game Day Wrap-Up Week 8 edition, and we'll see you next weekend.